Most people will spend their entire life feeling like something is missing. They'll work hard, they'll try, they'll hope, and they'll never figure out what it is. Napoleon Hill figured it out over 100 years ago. He spent 25 years interviewing the most successful human beings who ever lived. Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller. And he discovered one truth so simple, so powerful, that it should have changed the world. For most people, it hasn't. Because most people hear it and do nothing. But you're still here, which tells me you might be different. So let me ask you something before we go any further. What is controlling your mind right now? Is it fear, doubt, resentment, the quiet voice that says you've already missed your window? Or is it faith, purpose, the burning certainty that you were placed here to do something that matters? Because here is the truth Hill discovered after 25 years of research. The mind does not remain neutral. It is always under the influence of something. If you do not direct it, the world will. And that single truth will either set you free today or offend your excuses. Your mind is your kingdom. The only question is, who is ruling it? Let me tell you what no one will say to you. Picture a man. It's 6 a.m. The alarm rings. He hits snooze. Not because he's tired, but because he has no reason to get up. He lies there staring at the ceiling. The day ahead feels like a wall, not a road. He goes through the motions, the commute, the work, the scrolling, the sleep, and then wakes up to do it all again. For years. That is not a discipline problem. That is not a laziness problem. That is not even a motivation problem. That is a purpose problem. And Hill saw this pattern in thousands of people who never broke through. Not because they lacked talent, not because life was crueler to them than others, but because they never gave their mind something worth fighting for. The moment that man finds his reason, his burning, consuming, unshakable reason, the alarm becomes irrelevant. He is already awake, already moving, already building. Because your mind is your kingdom, and a king does not sleep while his kingdom waits. There are two kinds of people in this world. The first goes through life defeated, tired, complaining, surviving one day at a time, waiting for something outside of them to change before they dare to hope. Hill called them drifters, men and women without a rudder, blown in whichever direction the wind of circumstance dictates. The drifter doesn't fail dramatically. He just slowly disappears. The second kind is different. They stand tall in the face of adversity. They smile when others break. They rise when others quit. They win, not because life was kind to them, it rarely was, but because they made one decision, that their mind belonged to them, and to no one else. The difference between these two people is not intelligence, not luck, not education or background or privilege. It is what Napoleon Hill called a positive mental attitude. And let me be absolutely clear, because this is where most people misunderstand it entirely. A positive mental attitude is not thinking happy thoughts while the world burns around you. It is not surface-level optimism. It is not plastering a smile on your face when your soul is crying out in pain. A positive mental attitude is a spiritual force. It is the capacity to see through the fog of difficulty and still act. With faith, with precision, with purpose. It is the only known antidote to permanent failure, and it is the cornerstone upon which every empire of lasting success has ever been built. Here is where most people miss the entire lesson of history. Hill witnessed this force firsthand. Andrew Carnegie did not build his steel empire because the path was clear. He built it because his mind refused to see any obstacle as final. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb on his first attempt, nor his 100th. He transmuted every failure into data, every setback into fuel. When asked about his thousands of failed attempts, he said simply, he had not failed. He had found thousands of ways that did not work. That is not optimism. That is a trained mind. Henry Ford was told he was a fool. His own advisors doubted him publicly. And yet Ford understood something they did not. That a man with a definite purpose and an unshakable attitude is not stopped by opinion. He is powered by vision. These men did not fear failure. They invited it, they studied it, and they extracted from every defeat something the untrained eye could never see, the seed of something greater. Because as Hill taught, every adversity carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. That is not poetry, that is the law. Fear has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. Remember that. Let me tell you what no one will say to you about who you really are. You may have tried to stay positive. You may have spoken your affirmations, set your goals, pushed yourself, and still found life throwing blow after blow at you. Maybe I'm just not built for this. That thought is a lie, and it is the most dangerous lie you will ever entertain. You were not born negative, you were conditioned by your environment, by your past, by the voices of people who themselves had surrendered to mediocrity and called it wisdom. But here is what Hill proved beyond any doubt. What has been conditioned can be reconditioned. What has been programmed can be rewritten. The mind is not stone, it is soil. And you choose what grows there.
This is the principle Hill called auto-suggestion. Whatever you repeatedly say to yourself, whether truth or lie, your subconscious mind absorbs, accepts, and ultimately believes. Your inner dialogue is either the architect of your greatness or the silent assassin of your dreams. There is no middle ground. The man who rises each morning and declares with emotion, with fire, with certainty, "I will win. I will persist. I will not be denied." That man begins to shape his reality through the sheer momentum of directed thought.
The man who wakes and whispers, "Nothing ever works for me. I am tired. I cannot do this." That man is already defeated before his feet touch the floor. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief must be forged, daily, intentionally, relentlessly. Your mind is your kingdom. Speak to it like one. Here is where most people destroy their future, without ever knowing it. No positive mental attitude can stand without a foundation beneath it. And that foundation is what Hill called your chief definite aim. A man without a purpose is a man who drifts. And the drifter will always be at the mercy of those who do have one. But show me a man who knows exactly what he wants, who wakes with fire in his belly and vision locked in his mind. And I will show you a man who cannot be broken, not by failure, not by ridicule, not by time. Your chief definite aim is not simply a goal written on paper, it is your identity in motion. It is who you are becoming, every single day, guided by obsession and fueled by faith. Ask yourself this: what do I want so deeply that I am willing to suffer for it? What would I pursue even if everyone I knew told me it was impossible? What kind of life would make every sacrifice feel worth it? Once you have that answer, burn it into your subconscious. Read it aloud every morning and every night. Feel it as already accomplished. Speak it with the kind of emotion that moves mountains, because vague wishes produce vague results, but a burning, specific, emotionally charged purpose that commands the universe to respond. Now I want you to see something clearly. There was a man, 43 years old, who lost everything. His business, gone. His partners walked away. His savings, wiped out overnight. His reputation, shaken to the core. He sat alone in his empty office. The silence was deafening. Most people in that moment make a quiet, invisible decision. They decide, without even saying it out loud, that it is over. That they had their shot. That life has spoken. But this man did something different. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" he asked, "What is this preparing me for?" That one question changed everything. He didn't rage. He didn't collapse. He studied his defeat like a scientist studies a specimen. Looking for the seed Hill had promised was always there. And he found it. 18 months later, he signed a contract worth 3 times what he had lost. Same man, same market, same world. Different mind. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is positive mental attitude applied under pressure, exactly when it is hardest, and exactly when it matters most. You didn't lose. You were redirected. There is a difference. Now let me tell you what no one tells you about why good intentions fail. Hill observed this in every great man he studied. They did not rise on talent alone. They governed themselves. They understood that the man who cannot control his thinking, his time, and his habits is a slave in a world designed for kings. You cannot hold a positive mental attitude if you are held captive by negative rituals. You cannot govern your mind if you surrender daily to distraction, comfort, and complaint. So ask yourself honestly, what do you tolerate that weakens your spirit? What distractions do you invite that delay your progress? What comforts do you cling to that are quietly robbing your future? An unbreakable mental attitude is not born in comfort. It is forged under pressure. It is built in the moment you say, I will read instead of scroll. I will rise instead of sleep. I will speak power instead of complaint. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, your inner strength grows. Every time you surrender to ease, your potential dies a little more. And beyond discipline, Hill warned us about something even more powerful than willpower: environment. The people you surround yourself with either elevate your thinking or contaminate it. What enters your ears enters your spirit. Tell me your 5 closest influences, and I will tell you the ceiling of your future. Most people never examine this. They drift into their social circle the same way they drift through life, without intention, without design. And then they wonder why they cannot rise. Your mind is your kingdom, guard its gates. Now hear this, because it may be the hardest truth in this entire message. You are never a victim of circumstance, you are only ever a victim of your response. 2 men can face the identical setback. One becomes bitter, the other becomes better. The difference is not what happened to them. The difference is the meaning they chose to give it. When life strikes you, you get to decide, will I curse this moment, or will I bless it as the teacher that it is? When someone betrays you, will you become resentful, or will you become wiser, stronger, and clearer about who deserves your trust? You cannot always control what happens, but you always control what it becomes. This is the great secret of positive mental attitude. It does not remove difficulty, it redefines it. It doesn't stop the storm. It teaches you how to walk through it, with purpose, with power, and with your head held high. The world does not owe you encouragement, but it will always reward faith backed by action. And now, let me speak directly to your heart, because this is the moment that matters. Most people will hear everything in this video. They will feel something stir inside them, a spark, a recognition, something deep that says, yes, this is true, this is what I have been missing. And then, they will close the video, go back to the scroll, back to the routine, back to the comfortable smallness they have made peace with, and by tomorrow morning, the fire will be gone. That is the tragic pattern Hill witnessed in the masses. Not evil people, not stupid people, just people who let the moment pass, without making a decision. But a few, a very small few, will do something different tonight. They will sit in the silence and write down their chief definite aim. They will speak something powerful into the quiet of their room. They will make a decision, not a wish, not a hope, a decision, that from this moment forward, their mind belongs to them. And those people will change their entire life. Not next year, not when conditions are perfect, not when they finally feel ready, but now, in the present moment. Because Hill spent his entire life delivering one message: the principles are eternal. They worked for Carnegie, they worked for Edison, they worked for Ford, and they will work for you if you work them. The drifter waits for the right moment. The king creates it. Your mind is your kingdom, rule it. The question was never whether this works. The only question that has ever mattered, is whether you will. Before you go, I want to say something honest. If this video reached something inside you, if even one line made you stop and think, then what we are building here at ZestifyUp is exactly for you. This channel exists for one reason: to bring you the kind of thinking that actually changes lives. Not quick fixes, not empty motivation, but real ideas from the greatest minds in history, delivered in a way that speaks directly to where you are right now. We cover the principles of success, mindset, purpose, and mental strength, because we believe that the right words at the right moment can redirect an entire life, and we are just getting started. If this resonated with you, subscribe to ZestifyUp, not because everyone asks you to, but because the content we are creating here is genuinely worth your time. And your time, as you now know, is the one thing you cannot get back. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And if you know someone who needs to hear a message like this today, share it with them. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is put the right words in front of them at exactly the right moment. We will see you in the next one. And remember, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.